What's going on, Neon Nation, and welcome back to the Neon Arcade for some more Cyberpunk 2077 news. Today we're diving into a recent statement by CD PROJEKT Red regarding the monetization of Cyberpunk 2077's multiplayer, deconstructing the outrage about it so you can make your own informed decisions, Elon Musk's new Cybertruck, and what recent communication with CDPR on social media means for collaboration, and some insights from Mike Pondsmith, the creator of Cyberpunk, about the future of the franchise, the ending of 2077, and Cyberpunk being on other mediums like TV and movies. First up, let's get into quote-unquote controversial details regarding multiplayer that has some people worried. Now, if you guys are unaware, CD PROJEKT Red had a financial call of sorts for investors where President and CEO Adam Kicinski and Piotr went over some financial results for CD PROJEKT Red Group and the group's future plans. Now, we already know that Cyberpunk 2077 will have a multiplayer component, which is still in early development according to this call, but around 26 minutes into the conference call, it was asked how the monetization of the multiplayer component will be addressed. Kicinski and nielubowicz answer with that it's too early to share how this will be monetized, and there is no direction that they have established for this. They do, however, mention that they will not change their current policies of offering wise monetization and value for money. Now, of course, the vitriolic knee-jerk reaction via social media has been significant, as it always is with things of this nature. Putting this into perspective, however, let's first talk about the misreporting of the mention of microtransactions. Microtransactions do fall within some monetization policies, but monetization does not necessarily mean microtransactions, which by definition is the act of purchasing virtual goods for micropayments. Monetization could mean a subscription model or a one-time charge amongst a variety of other things. So whilst their monetization may be microtransaction centric, by no means was microtransaction specifically ever mentioned under the umbrella of this monetization, at least within this financial call. CDPR have also mentioned that when it comes to single player, there will be no microtransactions. Now, I'm not going to dive too much into how much servers cost companies to run, but here's a hint: it's very, very expensive. Monetization for upkeep is something a business would have to do to at the very least keep things up and running. Now, obviously this is assuming it's got dedicated servers, but it's 2019, why wouldn't it? If you've bought or pre-ordered a copy of Cyberpunk, that's a form of monetization. Now, CDPR has monetized before in their games. Take for instance Gwent, which is widely recognized for having a balanced monetization strategy that doesn't seem to fragment its audience. And yes, this does include microtransactions, but in my searches I found little to no complaints on the way it's been implemented. In essence, CDPR has incorporated microtransactions in the past, whilst keeping their player base relatively happy from what I've seen. My point here is it's a little premature to pick up the pitchforks, knowing that at this moment we know essentially nothing about the multiplayer experience and its quote-unquote monetization, but if you still do want to, at least you have some more information at your disposal to do with what you please. This conference call also yielded other interesting information pieces that have been overlooked, including Gwent Mobile targeting a Q1 2020 release for Android devices, the safe assumption CDPR will do something with next gen, and the Spocko mobile collaboration game being midway through development and based on one of the existing CDPR IPs. They also mentioned that they don't believe VR is viable right now because they feel it's too niche, and that when they do create games they'd rather focus on something new rather than revisit old games for updates, although they did mention The Switcher 3 as an exception to that statement. Next up, we have some news about Elon Musk's Cybertruck and a potential appearance in Cyberpunk 2077. If you guys are unaware, Elon Musk unveiled the new Cybertruck at a keynote a day or two ago, which had its highs and lows. Elon also took to Twitter to share an image. The Cyberpunk 2077 Twitter page tweeted back at Elon saying, quote, "We had a deal, Elon," to which he responded with, "See you in 2077. Now, some speculation has arisen that the truck could be featured in the game, as the truck would fit pretty well in the game, and the logo is oddly reminiscent of Cyberpunk 2020's font, but in my opinion, this is just some social media banter to generate attention. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Next, we have an interview via James Cook University where Mike Pondsmith reveals some details about the adaptation of Cyberpunk into different mediums, Cyberpunk 2077 and its ending, and where it will go beyond that. When asked if he has the story mapped out beyond Cyberpunk 2077, Mike Pondsmith says, quote, "I do. I actually know where everything's going to go and how it ends up. Usually if you get into a game, what you see is what you're gonna get, but in this case, what you see is just the beginning." Pondsmith also mentions that they're thinking about books and movies as something that may be in the cards for the Cyberpunk universe. Cyberpunk Red will cover the 2040s and beyond, and Mike mentions that in working with CDPR, they've established things all the way up to the 2060s. The next move before potential books would be where to place them in the timeline. Pondsmith also mentions that there's always been the assumption at Talsorian of getting into movies and TV, but that if they do, he'd hope that they do it right and not kill Cyberpunk's momentum. That's all I have for you guys today. Have a great Monday, and for more Cyberpunk, join Neon Nation by subscribing to the Neon Arcade.